Berube couldn't get this one, but will head to the corner with Goosarov. And a good solid hit by Berube, and the fans love that.
I got a feeling we'll see Goosarov and Berube head-to-head before this game is over. One of the few guys that the Soviet team has that's really willing to stick his nose in there and stir it up consistently is Goosarov.
Well, there's a shot and a goal that came from Fedorov on a steal. Just that quickly, the first Soviet shot of the game went blistering into the Flyers' net, and the Soviets lead 1-0. But it is back to Acton. Acton battling with Malakhov. Then Chabirov throws it around. Inching in to kick it along with Gord Murphy. Oh, and what a freight train check by Derek Smith on Konstantinov. It is played by Davidov. Wants to get it to Konstantinov, and then a shot in front. Acton ahead to Doug Sullivan, and he flips it back in. You would have to look hard to find a Flyer player who has not seen competition against the Soviets. Yet back in '76, virtually none of the players, except for Bobby Clark and Bill Barber, who were in that Super Series in '72, had played Soviet teams before. As ahead now comes Propp. The drop is to Scheifele, then to Eklund, who shoots one save. Rebound, score! A default and a tie game.
If the gap is too small, their forwards will get behind the Flyers defensemen. If the Flyers gap is too big between their defensemen and their forwards, then they'll counter in that space and come at them with their speed. So gauging that gap for the defenseman, the Flyers defenseman, is going to be very important here.
Kostichkin is helmetless because of a check from Derek Smith. Skipped away off the stick of Konstantinov, and back now for Chychrun. Dumps one, and Malakhov will step to it. He's ever hit, and then he returns with a jab on Horacek, and this thing's getting rough a little bit now. Jabbing for it is Scheifele. Coming along is Sutter. But it's wrapped along the boards by Shiryaev, and then a shot kicked away by the defense. The backhander by Propp went wide. Oh, and a big hit behind Sutter and Kravchuk. Stepping to this is Kamensky. Sutter right on him, gives him a couple of whacks. Kartner able to step on with it, has Derek Smith. Moves with Acton. Smith with a backhander that went wide. Acton centered. Chychrun a drive, he scores! Off this face-off, the puck is turned all the way back down, and the Soviets try to play a bank pass off the corner. What a hit that time by Horacek on Hobutov. And now we get a whistle and stoppage of play, and Andy Van Hellemond will take off a Flyer. The call will be elbowing, and Horacek will sit. So we'll get to see the Red Army power play swing into action.
Well, Big Tony Horacek is one of the few Flyers that has never faced a Soviet team before, and he introduced himself with a big elbow right there to Hobutov. His stick comes way up over his head.
Puck sent off the glass, and then Malakhov really reefed by Derek Smith. On a cross now, and Derek Smith is locked up on it. Ahead, a breakaway opportunity. Stepanichev in, looks, shoots, he scores! Stepanichev has tied the game at 2 with 4:02 to go in this first period.
Boy, I'll tell you, Davidov can really let her rip. He was drafted this past June by the Winnipeg Jets, and you know, even from here, Mike, his stick looks like it's really got a big hook in it. There he is. He's got that blackened blade, and even from here, look at the hook he's got. He may be their most skilled all-around player, but when I talk to the people that travel with the Soviet team and ask them which of these players could play in the National Hockey League, he was not one of the ones that was mentioned. Hobutov was mentioned. Kamensky was mentioned. Oh, look at this. What's this?
Yeah. I was just about to say Jacques Demers has called one of the sticks of the other Soviet team that was playing in Detroit recently.
Well,
but this is the first time a Red Army stick has been called, and we were advised that one thing that Viktor Tikhonov wanted when this series first began the day after Christmas was one of those stick measuring devices to make sure that every stick he had was legal.
Well, Mike, one thing I could have told him not to do is not to put white tape dead center in the middle of a black stick like that. Now, is Andy Van Hellemond going to tell him that it's legal or not? He's got to be telling him that it's illegal. I hope Andy knows how to use that thing, because I can tell from here that it's illegal. But it looks worse even because the little bit of white tape is dead center of the curve.
Yeah, design-wise, he was asking for it.
You bet he was. I mean, we're a good mile and a half from the ice surface. There's Arthur Urbe, the backup goaltender, and he said, yeah, don't worry, I'll step on it. I'll soak it in the hydroculator and get some hot water on it, and it'll be fine. Well, this is the guy that took the penalty, Sergei Fedorov of the Soviet Union's Red Army team. He is the highest draft pick by an NHL team in the history of Soviets being drafted by National Hockey League teams, and he went 74th overall to Detroit. Year before last. 74th. He topped Alexander Mogilny by, what, 15, because Mogilny went 89th to Buffalo. But the day is going to come as Soviet players come over easier and easier year after year. The day will come that you'll see perhaps a first rounder, most definitely a second or third rounder in the next few years, perhaps.
And scooped up by Berube. Greg Berube wheels it back out. Good pass on the money to Mellenby. Tries to get by Motkov, but can't. Oh, and the two of them went heavily into the board. Poulin able to punch it away. Then along to Berube. Back to Dave Poulin. Finesse one to the front, knocked out by Mikolovsky, and then played by Poulin once more. Poulin given a jolt from behind, that time by Chabirov. They spar along the boards, and Berube comes by. Greg Berube, cross-body to the board. Suicide continue to burrow right into the corner. Justine wants to be the fifth man, hoping it'll come to him, but it's Berube out front. He scores! Shovels one in deep. Complete shift change for the Flyers. They bring out Murphy and Barron on defense. Horacek along with Lacombe and Sutter up front. Norman Lacombe recently gotten from the Edmonton Oilers, and here's Petrov in on a breakaway. He scores! Petrov has tied the game.
And then just make sure you read who's coming into it. But the Soviets have gotten behind the Flyers very regularly in this period.
Booming check on Biakin that time by Murray Barron. And back up now comes Murphy. Just flies one wide. Goosarov back to get it. Hit by Horacek and also by Ron Sutter at the same time. Biakin again, but instead it's Scheifele trickling one back. Again, the Soviets regroup, and it's Goosarov sent flying on a check from Tony Horacek. He's lost his stick, so he regathers one from the bench as you watch the play unfold near Kartner. Across with us now is Lacombe with a pass to Sutter. Moves in and shoots! And it's turned aside by Mikolovsky. Right back up as the hitting picks up in this game. Soviets bring it back. Davidov can't reach this pass. It's Sutter having it knocked away, but turned back out again by Murray Barron. Sutter in flight, moving along with Norman Lacombe in a shot. 6 save. And then holding on is Mikolovsky as players crash the net. And now an altercation behind.
A couple of high sticking penalties to number 14, Ron Sutter of the Flyers, and number 32, Dmitry Motkov of the Red Army team. Mikhailovsky once again went down on the first shot, and he really had trouble controlling his rebound, was able to smother it, and behind him the sticks were clashing, Sutter and Motkov.
Now they move it in, and they try for Chastain. Chastain wrapped up and just hauled to the corner by Shel Samuelson, and he's slow to get up. Chastain appears to be hurt. Andy Van Hellemond ready to start play here in the third period. This game is deadlocked at 3. Hope you're enjoying the telecast tonight on Sports Channel. The Flyers and the Soviet Red Army lining up for the face-off with action. And it is Murray Barron playing for the Flyers defense. Right back off to Doug Sullivan. Followed up by Murphy. Check loose by Kostichkin. He's got a man in front. Davidov, he scores! Davidov has broken the tie. It's 4-3 Red Army. For the carry by Stepanishev. He's one of the goal scorers in this game for the Soviets, but can't connect with Chastain. Instead, ahead with it comes Eklund. Eklund fires, he scores! It was rather calm earlier tonight, and by a long shot different than what we had heard in 1976. But they have regained some old form here. What a hit that time by Derek Smith. Davidov again, sized up by Jeff Chikrin. Davidov finesses up the wing for Kostichkin. Chased off by Horacek, but Kostichkin tries to regain control. The battle continues in the corner. To a side and walking away with a Davidov hook down. Davidov ragging. Oh, and a couple of Flyers tried to get Davidov. Maybe they did. He's out flat, but Lacombe and Horacek also hit each other. Davidov is very slow to get up. Play continues now. We get the whistle blown by the linesman Pat DiPuzzo, and Davidov will be 10-2. We pause for a regional break. You're watching the NHL Soviet Super Series on Sports Channel.
Well, let's see if we can see what happens to Davidoff, number 11. Now, Jeff Chikrin has one part of the sandwich working, but he leaves him, and Horacek will come from the right. And Norm Lacombe right there, boom. Now, they caught Davidoff a little bit up high. He went down and stayed down for a long time. You can see him holding his hand and never went out to take care of him.
Eklund dumps one in. Scheifele goes right after it. Shoulders there with Motkov. Came up with it. Centered. And Prop unable to control. Then in close quarters to Scheifele. Locked up in the corner. Gets it back to Prop. Given a shove by Goosarov. And he's able to control for the Soviet defense. Nice pass ahead. Steered back up the wing. And moving on is Stepanichev. And then he was hit by Murray Barron in a centering pass.
Rushing hits here in the third period. And this one by Murray Barron on number 34, Anatoly Stepanovich.
Boy, Barron has been a thundering presence in this game, too, hasn't he? Horacek pass, and it came right on the money. It's kept alive by Fedorov, then over for a shot by Petrov that went wide. Fedorov once more works to the back to Motkov. Flips one in front, and Biakin couldn't cash in. Oh, and what a hit on him. Score by Goosarov after a plastering hit by Tony Horacek. Goosarov has broken the tie with 10:06 to go in the third. It is now 5-4 the Red Army.
Tony Horacek just left his man Petrov against the boards. That left Goosarov wide open to blast this one by Pete Peters. I thought he had it, though. It looked like an unscreened kind of shot. That one by Biakin just slipped by, and then Biakin got leveled, but Goosarov just ripped one by Pete Peters. If I was going to measure another stick, you know whose I'd measure? Goosarov, number 5. From here, it looks pretty big to me, too.
Every draw a big one at this point. Dave Poulin takes it for the Flyers, but the face-off is won by the Soviets, and Chastain is able to connect back up with Stepanichev. It is dumped back in deep, and going for it now is Murphy. And Horacek, who's really been throwing his weight around, sometimes to excess and sometimes to a fault tonight. Just threw a check now. Down to the ice went Acton. There'll be a Soviet penalty coming up. They touch, and the Flyers will go on a power play with the key point in the game, perhaps, coming right up. 6:27 to go in the third. It's the Soviets angered, but leading 5-4. 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the third. Power play time is down now to 50 seconds. And it is broken by Samuelson's pass on to Mellanby, moving with Horacek and Dave Poulin. Mellanby has Poulin headed to the net. The pass to Samuelson. Moves right in a backhander. Oh, and it's fought off. Behind the net, up with it is Mellanby. Samuelson slides back to the point. He had the big play on his stick, and he got a good shot away. That was blocked off by the goaltender, and then Kartner, a shot saved. Rebound, and it is cleared but not out. Samuelson winds up and shoots. Deflected in front. Picked off by Horacek. Back to Samuelson. Drive, and that one kicked loose in front. Bekoff got his skate on that one. Samuelson a shot. Blocked by the defense. Rebound. Poulin a backhander. Knocked down by Goosarov. And trying to trap it and able to hold on is Mihailovsky. Oh, and Mellanby going right after Motkov. On to Sutter. Here comes Peters to the bench. Sutter has it fought off his stick by Bekoff. Oh, and then a hit on Bekoff by Dave Poulin. Puck slipped away, and Kartner has it. 10 seconds to go. Terry Kartner has to rag it to keep play alive, and then it's forced off by Bekoff. Bekoff brushes one that goes back down, and the Red Army team is going to win this one. The horn sounds, and the tour for Red Army is over. The final score in the game. The Soviet Red Army 5, the Flyers 4. We now pause for a regional break.